I don't know how it happened, only how it started. I thought it was just my overactive imagination, but then things escalated. I know for sure that I'm being haunted, and it's driving me off the edge. But I'm probably overdrawing this. I'll just tell you the story. My friend has schizophrenia. Not different personalities, and that's called dissociate identity disorder. Schizophrenia deals with more things like auditory and visual hallucinations. Depending on the severity, it can be treated with medication. Or so she says. The medication is actually the reason this is happening to me. You see, her doctors took her off of it to see how she would react. 3 days later, she was staying over at my house watching TV with me. I've grown quite accustomed to her disorder. How she would look around the room in the middle of a conversation, or seem like she would be ignoring you when you spoke, all because of a hallucination. During the time she was there, she gradually grew from flicking her eyes over in a corner to intently staring at it. I asked her what she was seeing, and she replied with, "It's nothing." I went with that response until she started crying. I asked her again, and this time she responded with, "There's a girl in your room that's crying blood." I told her that it was just a hallucination, and she should ignore it. Though when I said that, she looked at me with such fear in her eyes that even I was paralyzed. She said that I shouldn't say that I was making the girl angry. I shook my head and smiled, reassuringly, that the little girl didn't exist and couldn't hurt me. My friend looked away from me back to the corner, immediately starting to sob. Later that night, I laid on my bed, bored, unable to sleep due to obvious reasons. I was about to turn on some music when I heard my cat meowing from the living room. Needing something to do, I went out to see what was bothering her. I found her staring at the dark corner of the room. Her hair was on end and she was hissing quietly. I was creeped out by this, and I bent down to pet her. But she didn't react to my touch. She just stared at the corner. I started back for my room, but then she let out an ear-splitting shriek. The kind when a cat's tail is stepped on, or if one is surprised. I immediately turned around, my heart pounding to see what happened. Nothing. She was gone. What bothered me was that she would have run into the kitchen. But I didn't hear her hitting the hardwood that makes up the kitchen floor. I looked around the living room, under furniture, and then the kitchen. She was just gone. As I left the kitchen, the sound of a knife being pulled from its holster emanated from behind me. I turned, and the knives looked completely untouched. I thought I was just delusional from lack of sleep and went to my room. Though, as I made my way, I was interrupted. There was a tapping noise in the living room that stopped me. As I stood in the middle of the room, I looked towards the large window next to the front door. The curtains were closed, but slightly askew, which allowed me to see the pale white hand tapping on the window. I ran from my room, slamming and locking the door behind me. I cowered in the corner of my bed, which was in the corner of my room. I sat with the blankets over my head, my heart beating fast, and my breath heavy. That's when the thudding began. Quiet at first, seeming far off, but eventually got louder and closer. My back was to the wall of my room, that wall being the outside wall of the house. And that thudding increased until I could feel it right behind me. Then silence. No noise besides my heart and my breath. Next to my bed is another large window covered by a thick curtain. I gathered my courage and moved out from under my blankets, just enough to peel back the curtains and look out. It was pitch black, and nothing was out there besides the bushes. I peeled the curtain's edge back a bit more, and then the thudding began. So loud, drowning everything out. I looked back into my room to make sure I was alone. Then I returned my gaze to the window, only to see the pale white face of a girl. Her eyes were large black voids, with blood streaming down her face. I woke up the next morning, my cat sleeping next to me. Ever since that night, I've seen her, over and over. She haunts me, every night. Every dark space, I see her. I know she's real, because she killed my friend, the one with schizophrenia. She was found face down in a pool of blood, bled out from her eyes. I feel that the same will happen to me soon. I hope by reading this, she doesn't latch onto you. I hope it ends with me. It's 4 a.m. right now, and she's out there. The thudding is driving me to write this. The thudding never stops. And neither does she.